You can't simply look at a finished car or a competitive player and say to a beginner, that's Tekken. Do that. And another one of these lovely quotes, and I love it. This one is also all over Tekken Reddit. Someone will show up and say, oh, I think I saw this one earlier today, and that got me thinking about this, you know, very simplistic way of looking at things. When someone said, oh, I want to get into Steve, and I'm so new to Tekken, how do I pick up Steve? I want to become a boxer. And immediately he seemed very green, very new to Tekken. And then someone wrote, and this one's a classic. I got it myself like 15 years ago. I was given the same advice. Go look at me. Go look at Fat Spirit, Korean top player, and Loha. Watch them play Steve. And I'm like, But the way Low-High and Knee, or Nobi, or Fight Spirit, the way they play Steve is to counter people of the same level of play. They play Steve to take down other top-tier competitive players. And that is one way of playing Steve. But when you're playing in the first dance or initiate or green ranks, people do not play like Low-High's opponents. You have to play a very different kind of Steve to do well in ranks where, let's face it, most people just hit the controller like this and are in your face like this. And that's the same advice I got I remember when I played Tekken 5, or let's say Tekken 6 online, and people would tell me on Tekken Zaibatsu, when I was pretty green to, you know, higher levels of play, oh, watch Lidi, watch, you know, insert top tier Mishima players at the time. And I was like, I tried to I didn't know better, so I was young and dumb. And I tried to emulate what they were doing. So I was like, oh, so when people back away defensively, I move like this, and then you do jab into forward 4, and then you do a sidestep into electric. You didn't understand why they were doing these things. All you could see was the pattern. So you were like, okay, I'm gonna try and do memory here and recreate this pattern. But I could never recreate the pattern because my opponent was not moving like this or backing away or playing defensively. When I hit rank, they were like, you know, in my face, and I was like, give me breathing space so I can do my leady, my knee step into forward 4, into jab, into... Why is my opponent just a rabid fucking lunatic? My opponent is a homeless person on methamphetamine. Just crazy rabies attack. Why is my opponent not playing the way Knee's opponent did? And it's like, yeah, it never fails. It never fails on Tekken Reddit and forums. Go watch the top player, go top player. Not understanding that in beginner level of play, there's a certain way to approach a character. And not only a character, but also play styles. And then in intermediate, it changes again. And then in high level play, it changes. And then in competitive play, it changes again. And that is, again, just the most simplistic way of looking at things. Oh, you want to pick up that character? Go look at competitive play when you're a beginner or when you're an intermediate. And it's so flawed. And it's always this, I guess it's this elitist attitude where, yeah, just go lab, just go lab. Like that's so easy, or an easy answer to everything. Or just look at the top player, look at the top player. And it's like, how does that apply to me in this situation? There's so much more to this game, and it's so unfortunate that you get those dumb advices all over the place. But I guess it's this argumentation from authority. It's like, oh, you want to learn to play Steve? Go to watch the best Steve player in the world. But it's it just fails to take into account so many things, and it's just so unfortunate to me. I think top players show you the possibilities of your character, which is good. No, because you won't understand a thing. Just seeing someone use a move is not important information. Important information is, why is he using that attack? You won't understand that just by seeing someone play a character. You will not know why he used that attack in that particular situation. You will just try to mimic his patterns because you do not understand the theory. The theory you will only understand by taking it one step at a time. Understanding beginner Tekken, intermediate Tekken, and then advanced Tekken, because those are different things. It's like becoming a fucking engineer and going to the very end product, which is a finished car, and saying, oh, look at this, understand this. No, it's too overwhelming. I don't understand it by just looking at it. We gotta break it down in theory. Let's just start with the very basics, you know? The car skeleton, or whatever you'd call it. How do you put that together? What does that do in terms of holding up the car? I want to understand that, and then maybe the wheels. And then we'll add something else. And then we'll look at something really complicated. The motor, the engine of a car, which in Tekken the equivalent is the frames. All of that you take one step at a time. You can't simply look at a finished car or a competitive player and say to a beginner, that's Tekken. Do that. He won't understand a single thing. And I didn't understand a single thing looking at top tier Mishima players. And I did that for years. I understood this game by actually learning how to play green ranks, and then yellow ranks, and then orange ranks, and adapting my level of play to fit those ranks. And not trying to mimic what I saw fucking Ni do with Kazuya. I chose to instead do the things I thought were appropriate to take down my current opponent. And then I actually learned a lot of different things. So no, I do not think it's necessary to say that, oh, you can get some good information on your character watching the best players in the world. Yeah, certainly, there's some merit to it, and it can help a little bit, but at least from my own experience, it certainly was not a great benefit to me. I would much more say that it held me back for a long time. Trying to mimic what they did against fucking tag 2 capos. It's like, no, it didn't help me. It did not help me. It set me back, is what I would say.